I'm not going to have any slides. I'm kind of winging it. I volunteered to do this thing and then was surprised when they said yes. And they're like, okay, well, and then I lost my notes for about a week. So I'm just basically going to be improvising. So what Megan just said that we had what we call patchwork. I think the Cory Doctorow actually did another word for it. It's called the reverse centaur. So the centaur is like the idea of the human head on top of a machine body. So human mind augmented by software and machinery as a force multiplier as efficiency. But rather the reverse centaur is the machine and software as the head, and the human just supporting and tinkering and tweaking and correcting things on the back end. EA Games actually got caught using AI to generate head models for some of their games, and then used the graphic designers to go in and fix the errors where it fell into the uncanny valley. So one of the things that public sector workers are trying to do to control AI is by introducing legislation. Because our boss is essentially the state, and the legislators make the rules for the state, we have to go to the legislature if we want things done, if we want like our rights codified. One of the things is HB 1622, which is a bill that was introduced in the legislature this session, this current year session. It didn't pass the House. Well, it passed the House, it didn't pass the Senate. Part of that is because Microsoft got heavily involved, throwing a lot of money, scaring legislators, telling people that if we start bargaining AI then we'll have to bargain every implementation of technology, which is ridiculous because it makes state employees sound like a bunch of Luddites, but also because we don't want to have to go to the bargaining table every time Microsoft pushes an update that includes another little AI feature that nobody asked for. So what we're trying to do is push the legislation coming up and hopefully get this passed. What it does is it gives us the right to bargain implementation of AI where it affects wages or performance evaluations. Everything else we can still bargain, but only impact. For an example, there was a letter sent by the Department of Commerce today to WFC, to our executive director, saying that we're going to start rolling out Copilot at the Department of Commerce. And you can bargain the impacts, so how it affects the employees, but you don't get a say on whether or not we actually do it. We're doing it, and we'll work with you on maybe mitigating some of the impacts, but we're still going to do it. The problem is that I've been talking to some people in other parts of the state government. They're not really showing as much concern for the safeguards as they should. Maybe going a little bit too fast, not worrying about protections. Department of Commerce works with a lot of sensitive financial information. And also, you think about how this would affect state services. The Trump administration is rolling out a pilot that would use AI to screen Medicare applicants. So for Texas, Oklahoma, Washington, and a few other states. And just imagine the nightmare that's coming there of, you're applying for Medicare and all of a sudden an algorithm is telling you you don't qualify. And oh yeah, the AI company gets a cut of the money saved by denying you that care. Now I'm just imagining, I'm a state employee. I do what I do because I love it. I got a degree, I take pride in what I do. I want state services to be run well. I want people to get the services that they need. But then imagine that being rolled out to Employment Security Department, which handles unemployment. Imagine it being handed out to DSHS, people's benefit cards. Imagine it being handed out to, anything else. I hear about lawyers getting caught in front of cases, using AI to write their cases. And then that AI is citing studies that don't exist. And I will tell people, the Attorney General's office where I work, which I'm here in a personal capacity, the Attorney General's office will be the last part of state government to implement AI for precisely that reason, because no self-respecting lawyer is going to use generative AI to write their brief. Because if that AI makes a mistake, you lose that case, which then takes me to accountability. if the LLM makes a mistake, who's responsible? Like if I hand a poor quality product to my supervisor and that doesn't work, then am I responsible? Well, then what if I tell my boss that I used ChatGPT to write it? Well, then what happens then? Am I still I'm still responsible, but you can't blame the AI. If the state were to contract with a vendor to screen, unemployment applications, then is the state going to say, oh, actually, that wasn't our fault. That was the model. That was the vendor. The vendor over there, they're responsible, not us. You think the people who were denied on their unemployment are going to care? No, they're going to sue the state, which takes me to another thing of what the Attorney General's office does is torts. The torts division is the part of the state government that handles, when the state gets sued. So when the state gets sued, torts has to go and write a check for millions or tens of millions of dollars. So if we're underfunding state services like DCYF and we don't have enough social workers and kids are getting harmed because we don't have enough social workers, somebody sues DCYF, they win a settlement, and then that money comes out of program funds. So it's a vicious cycle. State makes a mistake, state has to pay a settlement, that funding comes out of the funds that pay for the services, and it makes it worse. Because we're not like the private sector. We don't have an insurance company that pays out if we get sued. So that's the thing where it's accountability. It's a lot of the issues with AI as currently constituted. It's simply not reliable enough to provide the services. It's not accountable. And that, it puts us in a place where if we're going to do that, we have to set these kind of guardrails. And I say wait. I say let's think about it. I'm not a Luddite. I think but the problem is we don't control that. The workers don't have a say in how it's implemented. And that also takes me to who's selling us that model. I mentioned Microsoft lobbying against HB 1622 in this current session. Microsoft has a vested interest in selling AI, not just to anybody else, to individual customers, to businesses, but also to the state. They need to have more customers. They need to expand their subscriber base. They need to sell more inference in order to make their models profitable. That means big corporate clients. That means large institutional customers like the state of Washington. And if everybody's not using it, well, doesn't really matter. You just bundle it together. Honestly, who here uses Teams? I hate using Teams. But it's part of the Microsoft Office suite, and it helps them justify selling that package for $200 a year. Which honestly, I only use Microsoft Word, Excel, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Nobody uses all the other stuff in that Office software, but it helps justify that subscription. They add Copilot, well, okay, maybe you can charge another $20 a year, $25, $50 a year, depending on how much somebody's using it. And now they're trying to get people to use it at the Department of Commerce. So they have an interest in selling that service. They want more customers, and the state of Washington is already locked in. It's just like Microsoft has a pretty much monopoly on Office software. It's probably 95% of the market is everybody's using Microsoft Office. So then we're already locked in there. What happens if we start rolling out AI? We start building our services onto that, and then it comes in 2, 4, 5 years later, the price has gone up because now everybody's locked in. You ran that loss leading strategy of keeping the subscription prices low for several years, and now we're locked in, and now the state's paying a lot of money to justify that, to pay for that subscription. Or what happens if, it turns out what I think happens is AI turns out to be an unsustainable business model, and the AI bubble crashes, and then we build that, and then 5 years later, that service is no longer being operated, or that company folded and went bankrupt because they couldn't keep paying the cost for their data centers. This is one of those things where you look at those practical effects where, you start putting AI into state services without really making sure that it's reliable and trustworthy. Real people end up paying those fees. Like, we start putting that, we take our Medicaid program, we use that. Well, real people would get denied Medicaid. Real people would get denied unemployment. We start putting that into like DCYF, AI makes a mistake. AI is the one, DCYF is what handles child protective services in Washington state. Real people could lose their kids, that makes that mistake. So precisely because the state of Washington provides so many useful services that people depend on, that's why state workers like me, we want to make sure that we have a say in the implementation, that we don't just get some, AI-pilled manager like Joe Wynn at the Department of Commerce saying, this is great, this could save a lot of money. And also partly it's about our jobs. We want to make sure that we don't get replaced by an algorithm, but also because we know that no algorithm can do his job as good as a person, because an algorithm doesn't understand context, algorithm doesn't understand, things like child neglect or elder abuse, like things that get handled by like DSHS. And I see a little bit of everything because the Attorney General's office is the lawyer for the state. We every state agency is our client. So I get a good cross-section of that. And that's where we're going. Like, I think as far as what you can do, I would say call your state legislator, in particular June Robinson, who is the head of the Ways and Means Committee in the Senate. She's the one who may or may not have killed the bill in the Senate last session. Senator Wellman from Bellevue, who's a former Apple executive, may be a little bit hostile to both labor and any efforts to rein in tech. So, try to make sure that that bill gets passed. As far as a few other things, maybe listen to Ed Zitron's podcast, The Better Offline. It's a good AI skeptical take, and consult me. Also, just try and de-Google. Reduce your dependence on AI. You can use things like browsers like Vivaldi, which are explicitly anti-AI. You'll never see a AI summary, and also probably try and reduce your dependence on big tech at all. Like, try and find things that are not Microsoft, Google, Amazon products. Try to build use software that is produced by a nonprofit, especially a non-US based nonprofit at this point. Use things like Proton Mail, which is based in Switzerland, because Google reads your email. Google reads your email and uses it to sell you things. You're using that to scrape and train their AI model. I think I've ran out of things, but I'm kind of rambling at this point. But thanks for letting me talk, and thanks for coming.